to me how quickly even the young ones pick up on how to use the platform. So it's simple, it's authentic, and of course, it's fun. Something that struck me about Flipgrid and why I use it regularly now is that it gives students who may normally not want to speak up in class, this is a tool to help them find their voice. And as this teacher said, I have a girl who didn't say a word for the first 3 months of school, introduced Flipgrid, she started talking through that tool, and now she actually raises her hand in class. Boom. And that's kind of how I feel about it. This past year I was working with English learners, and a lot of them are not as confident speaking out in class, but when they're given the opportunity to record their response and edit their response and hear their own pronunciation, it helped them, one, with their language acquisition as well as boosting their confidence. And here's a quick video. I think the kids and the teachers sum it up best.
I think it's important to have a voice because
it means that we get to speak up.
it gives you a chance to speak your mind.
Sometimes, like, not everyone's heard and everybody has an opinion.
We can inspire other people, show the world who you are.
And you get to share your ideas and you get to say what you want.
Student voice matters because they should be active participants in their learning.
We can help ignite their passions, build on their curiosity, and help them make an impact on their world.
Because everyone deserves a chance to be heard.
That is the power of student voice.
I'm Evan, and I have a voice.
My name is Jocelyn, and I have a voice.
I have a voice.
I'm proud of my voice. You need to hear it.
Awesome, dude.
Okay, so different uses for Flipgrid, and I know this screen is busy, but I'm just going to highlight a few. If you are on the elementary and even middle school side, there are some great ways to use Flipgrid. There are virtual field trips. You can use them to enhance physical field trips. Not that we're going on any physical field trips this year, but when we get back to normal, hopefully this will be an enhancement to those field trips. Book talks. Students can make commercials about books that you're reading in class. Maybe it's an opportunity for them to share and discuss current or historical events. Maybe you have class announcements like a state of the classroom, or maybe it can be like your bell work, something that they discovered or an aha moment from the day's lesson before, or maybe it's something you use to close out your class and they can share their biggest takeaways. They're also great for science fairs if you don't have the ability to bring judges or to bring guests on campus. If your science fair is in the middle of the day, you may not be able to allow parents to come on campus, and this will be an opportunity for their students to share their work with their families in the community. On the high school side, some of these are really cute, like the book speed dating. You have quick reviews of books and somewhat of a speed dating atmosphere for them to choose different books or review different books. Great way for persuasive writing and debates. There are just a lot of different ways you can use Flipgrid, and I'll be sharing out this list when we're done with the presentation. Okay, so the first step is to create a grid. I'm going to go through the steps quickly, and then I'm going to flip over to a different tab and actually walk you through the steps of how to create your grids and your topics. So a grid is basically your house, or think of it as your classroom. I taught multiple grade levels, so I had a different grid for each grade level. If you are self-contained, you may want to have a different grid per subject. And it's also something to consider if you have small groups, if you have pods of students, maybe you only want them to be able to share and communicate with one another. So you may make them their own grid or their own topic within a grid. So only say 4 students are sharing and commenting with each other as opposed to all 25 are trying to respond to all of the videos. But a grid is I guess, like I said, it's kind of your house, your main overview for your class or your subject. And then you add topics, and this is where it gets fun. Topics are your discussion prompts, themes, challenges, and the sky's the limit with what you can do with a topic. You can share things directly from your Google Drive with your students. They can also share files back to you when they respond. You can share videos to prompt their interest. You can add Kahoot links, PowerPoints, pretty much anything, including linking them out to Class Dojo for parents. So if you can think of adding it, there's a way to add it into your topics for Flipgrid. But keep in mind, when you're creating a grid or your house or your class space, you have to decide how to organize, whether that's by your class, your grade level, small group, etc. If this is something you're using with adult learners or your colleagues, maybe it is a grade level, or it may be all science teachers or all math teachers. It just depends on your needs, and you can always adjust that at any time. Next, use short, easy to understand headings and titles. I tend to be overly cutesy with my titles, but my students know which group they're in, so it's not a big deal. But if you have multiple grids and you're using this with a large group of students or a large group of adults, keep those titles short and easy for people to figure out where they're supposed to be. And also remember to secure your grids using our Bozier email extensions, one for teachers as well as students, and make sure they use Google Sign-In. When you're creating a topic, you can always add a topic focus, which is a video, an image, or a link or a document you want to share to boost that engagement and get your students excited about working through this topic. You're also allowed to moderate videos, which means no one can view the responses unless you approve them. Now, this is extremely helpful when you have students who are very excited and they want to share everything but what the topic was about. So you can moderate that video, send them some feedback, give them an opportunity to re-record it, and then decide if you want to share that with the class. And then also just being honest, in the times that we live in, it cuts down on any inappropriate content or maybe some harsh words, gives you an opportunity to discuss what good feedback is and what's constructive feedback. So moderating videos is something I do with every topic. Next, you can add an active time window, which means the topic will post today, it closes in 2 weeks, is no longer visible to your students. Whereas you might have one that's just for fun or more casual that you leave open all year. Maybe that's kind of like your bulletin board for your class, and they pop in and out as they choose to share different things with you. But always remember, you have the option to close a topic window at any time. And you can do that when you set up the topic, or if need be, you can do it manually after you've set it up. And they're always updating video features. Right now, Flipgrid provides a free but robust video editing software for students. They can add clips, subtract, shorten things so they don't have to re-record the entire video. And then lastly, you can provide feedback using a rubric. They have one that's set in there that you will see, but you can also add custom rubrics so your students know what you're looking for in their responses. Okay, so I'm going to pause right here for any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because in a minute I'm going to jump into actually working through the Flipgrid platform. So do we have any, oh, there are 22 responses in there. Let's look. Let's see. Not seeing any specific. Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and jump into setting up our actual grids. Okay, so you should be seeing my Flipgrid home screen, and it has all of my grids in one place. So as I said, your initial grid is kind of like your house or your classroom. I have several different ones. At the end of each school year, I do purge a lot of the student responses unless it's something that they've given me permission to share, and I have several of those that I keep floating around. But otherwise, I purge them at the end of the year unless it's something that I feel like I'm going to reuse the next year. But still, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and purge those student responses. So some of my topics include sub-plans, PD presentations. I had a group, they decided they were terrific because they were in 3rd grade, so they were that terrific 3rd grade group. Just for fun, welcome to school, and then my grade 4 investigators. So you can have as many grids as you like. I currently keep about 6. I try not to go more than that because it gets very busy. So let's go ahead to add a new grid. So this is your first step after you create your account, and I have a link for you at the end to go ahead and get your account going. So you create your grid. We're going to name it. Let's name it Summer 2020. You select the type. Now, if this is a grid that you're using with students, it needs to be protected. I do not advise, and I'm sure our IT people would also say no, 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 to you creating separate student IDs outside of their Google accounts. So either you will be using this first one, which is school email, or you would be using the second one, which is educator learning community, if this is going to be something you're using with adults who may need to access it outside of their work email. So for now, I'm going to click on school email. You can change the name as you choose as long as it's available. So let's see if Flipgrid 2020 is available. All right, awesome, it is. And then we'll click next. So as you can see, it already tossed in my email extension at bossierschools.org, but we need the students to be able to access it. So you need to add the student extension. Now, if there were other extensions, you can also add those, but these are the only two I use for employees and students to safeguard their responses. So that's it. Our grid is now completed. So this is our grid for today's presentation, and only those with the Bossier extensions can access and respond to this grid. So now that you're here, you can customize it as much as you like. You can change the picture here at the top if you want it to be something more fun. It automatically opens up with the topic at the bottom, say hello on Flipgrid. I usually keep this one going just for introductions at the beginning of the year if I work with a new group where they can jump in and introduce themselves. So let's look at some of the ways we can edit our general grid. So edit is always at a pencil. You can change the name or the code at any time. Update your security. We're going to leave it as school email. And then as well as you have features. Right now, this is an active grid for anyone with that extension. Daily notifications. At the moment, if you select daily notifications, anytime a student responds to a topic, you will receive an email. Now, if you have about 20 students, that may not be too bad. If you have 125 students, that may drive you crazy. So you may want to change it to where you have weekly, or say every new video, or never. If you know you're going to be using this regularly, you can go back and check those messages yourself instead of receiving notifications. The next option, download and share. I turn this one off just because so students don't get caught up in trying to download, specifically if they're using Chromebooks. They will have some issues with that. So that's one I just turn off. It gives them the option to download all of their content onto the hard drive of the computer. So I just turn it off so we can avoid that since we mainly use Chromebooks. Next, grid followers. This allows students to receive a notification when new topics are created, and that one I do turn on if I have students who will be using this grid throughout the year. And then of course you have your captions in different languages. If you like to personalize it, you can drop in a photo to be your main banner heading, or you can just pick one down here. I think this one's cute, so we'll go with that one. So now I've updated my main grid. And really quick, let me double check and check the chat. Okay, we're good. Oh, and just so you guys know, I'm going to send out a one-pager to everyone who's on here. So I know I see some of you writing feverishly, trying to make sure you're getting in all of these steps. No worries. I'm going to send out a one-pager so you don't have to write everything down. I hope that'll be helpful to you all. I should have said that in the beginning. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so let's jump back. Okay, so now we've created our grid. We've created our house. So now we need to create our own topic. So you come down here to add new topic. And here's where it gets fun and complicated all at the same time. So we're going to create a topic name. I hope you're all having fun. We'll call it summer fun. As you can see, you only have 35 characters for that. And then you have your prompt. So I want to say, please introduce yourself, including, certainly can't spell, don't judge me, your school and grade level. Next, you will choose how long students or respondents have to respond. A minute and a half seems very short, but to a little person, it's very long. So something I did to prepare my students for recording is I had them sit in silence for a minute and a half so they could see just how much time they had to fill up for an appropriate response from me. Now, as the year went on, I increased the time of their responses, but we worked up to it. It was kind of a stamina building activity because I wanted them to know, yeah, it says 1 minute, but that's actually a lot of time. So you can set it for as long as you want. If it's something quick, 15 seconds, a little bit longer than you think it is, or if they're giving you a full out report, presentation, science fair project, book review, you may need the 5 or 10 minute time window. I'm gonna leave it at 1.5 minutes for now. Here's what I mentioned before, video moderation. This is something I leave on for just about every topic I create. And that's so I can kind of filter through and preview them before they go live to the other students. If it's just something that's just for fun, like introduce yourself, maybe you don't want to leave the moderation on. But for something a little more serious, I think that's something we should consider. Now, for your focus to get their attention, you have several options. You can record an intro, which you will see that I have done when I kind of turn you loose to play around a little bit. Upload videos, you can pull things straight from YouTube if you like, images, emojis, Google Documents, all sorts of things, Kahoot, Nearpod. I know a lot of us are using Nearpod. So there are several things you can add to catch your students' opinions. I usually record a video. It's not going to let me record it now since I'm live with all of you. But that's an option you have. If you wanted to do something from YouTube, all you would need to do is find that link on YouTube and add it to the URL. You can preview, make sure you have the right thing. This is the getting started video from Flipgrid, and add it there. And you have the option to add more than one video. Now, most people will go ahead and click create topic. I do not. I hit more options just to make sure things are the way I like them to be. So for topic tip, if this is an academic post, you may have to leave a little bit of a breadcrumb trail to support your students and be clear on what it is you're looking for. Now, this is like I said, it's breadcrumbs, it's short, 64 characters to help them know what it is you're asking. So for you guys, it's just gonna say intros. Topic attachments, you can add up to 9 external links, and they can be anything. Again, you have YouTube, Google Docs. If you use HyperDocs to help them navigate through things, perhaps you want them to watch 3 separate videos and then come back and respond, telling you the similarities and the differences between what they saw in that historical event. Here is where you would add all of your attachments. Topic status, right now it's active. You can manually change it to frozen, which means no one can add anything else to it. It's only view only, or you can hide it. People can still add to it if they have the link, but it won't appear on the main grid page. Your launch date, you have your launch date, and then you can also add a date for it to end. Just for giggles, I'm gonna add the 31st, that this one will freeze and no one will be able to add more introductions. Now, these options are where the students and I tend to get ourselves in trouble. And I say the students and I, because I have a habit of doing this too. And you will see that when we get into it a little bit more. They record their initial response as a video, but they also have the option to add a selfie at the end, which sounds fun. You're like, great, you'll see exactly whose video it is before you hit play. You know your students. If they're gonna get caught up taking the selfie 30 times or adding all the stickers, then perhaps it just needs to be video only. But after they're used to it, generally we don't have an issue. So after a while, I leave it on selfies and videos. Leave on video editing. That way they can trim and rearrange their video clips as they need to without having to start all the way over. This is especially important if you have a video that's going more than 1.5 minutes, those 3, 5, and 10-minute videos. Video title. I generally have them use their initials, our first initial, last name, or first name, last initial, so it's easier to sort through. Now, Flipgrid will sort those by their login for you, so you don't necessarily have to have them put their name in the title. It can be something else or something related to the task. If they're going to send something back to you, this is where they attach that external link, such as a Google Doc or a HyperDoc. Now, these next 2 are ones that I turn off. I turn off view count, and I also keep off likes, because as we know with students, sometimes they put a little more meaning on how many people are liking their videos or how many people have watched their videos. So I just turn that off altogether to avoid any hurt feelings. They have the options to add sticky notes as they're recording, and this sometimes helps them to go back and remember what it was they wanted to say. So they can add a sticky note with their dialogue and then hit record. And then all they have to do is read off of their digital sticky note. So they're not looking to the side away from the camera. This is a fairly new feature. I think they added it mid-year this past school year. And then lastly, you have your student-to-student responses where they can respond to each other via video. As we get more comfortable with it, that's great because you can have an entire dialogue going. Just think if you've given the class a word problem for them to solve, and they can give one another feedback. If a student makes a mistake, they can come back and say, well, I got it this way. Have you tried this? And another one can piggyback helping the student, or they just might want to share different ways they've all solved the same problem. It's really good for creating dialogue, especially if you end up in a distance learning situation. And then the final option is feedback. The basic feedback, you can give them a score on their ideas and their performance, or you can turn those off by using custom. I created a custom rubric for a HyperDoc exit ticket because we use those a lot, and you can do the same. That can be created in Google Docs or in a regular Word document, and you just add it to the feedback. It can also be created within the system. You add your criteria where they required that it had to be at least a minute. So maybe you put timing in there and tell them how many points they receive if they stay within, well, if they have the minimum time, or perhaps it was clarity, or maybe you are grading on tone or how clearly they're speaking, that they address all of your bullet points from your topic. So you can add as many things as you like to the criteria to send them back feedback. Okay, so I'm gonna hit create topic. Our topic is now created. You have a few options here. If you are using a classroom site, not Google Classroom, but more of a website for your class, you can always embed the link. Jumping over, you can share it straight to Google Classroom. I have a demo created, so you can share it straight to your classroom. PD demo. I would like for that to be an announcement, and off it goes. It's as quick as that to share it with your students who are in your classroom. Or if you are in the classroom, this was very helpful to me when I was out for a conference. I downloaded all the QR codes for each topic, added them to one sheet, one Google Doc, one HyperDoc, however you want to look at it. And all they had to do was scan it from their Chromebook or their tablet. And each day they had a new message from me saying hi, how much I missed them, and what they will be learning that day while I was away. And also that I wanted them to respond back to me and kind of give me a recap. What did you learn, or what connections did you make? Okay, so all set. So that was in a nutshell how to add your topics. So once they come, once it's posted to students, they hit the green record. Record appears in two ways. It can be a bar like this, or it'll just be this big circle. If you're on a cell phone, it'll just be the big round circle. And you have the option to share that topic out or share responses out if you have just a brilliant response that you want to share with the students. One more thing I want to bring your attention to is, especially if you're elementary or if you're working with EL students or other students who may have trouble reading, there is something called the immersive reader, and it's found right here. So when you click on immersive reader, it changes the view of the announcement and it will read it to them.
Please introduce yourself, including your school and grade level.
Which has been great, which again, I say I had EL students. So if they weren't as proficient with their language as others, this was a great way for them to hear what the topic was and be able to respond. You have a couple of options. There are text preferences. You can increase the size or change the font. They have control of that as well, but you can set it initially. There are grammar options. If it were something you were working with phonics or something like that, you could have the words broken down into syllables. You can also highlight the different parts of speech, but you do have to kind of double check those sometimes, and show the labels. If this were a text you wanted them to read back to you or to explain something to you, or how do they know that that's a noun in this text, you have those options as well. And then lastly, you can do a line by line focus, or perhaps you want 3 lines at a time. Some words you have the option for a picture dictionary. That's something I left on all the time just because of my population. And then you have the option to translate, which can also be very helpful, particularly if this is something that they'll be doing at home with parents who may not speak English, or again, if they have a limited language proficiency. It can translate by word or the entire document. So those are just some great features they've added to provide more supports and scaffolding for our diverse students. Okay, so I'm going to jump back again over to me. All right. Do we have, are you able to show next? Yes, I can do that. I actually have one pulled up. I believe it's linked in there, so I will get to that. Oh, great. I'm glad we're showing you something new. Okay, great. I think great. You guys have been answering each other's questions, so thank you so much for that. And now we will jump back to the presentation. Okay, so let's keep going. So again, we've learned that Flipgrid can empower every voice, which is great for boosting their confidence. And then we've talked a little bit about how students share and some of the options they have for uploading and capturing their thoughts. And now it is your turn. So what I would like for you to do, if you have those cell phones, and let me go back so I can see your faces and see who's participating. I see you. I see you, Mindy. I'm counting on you. Okay, so if you have your cell phones available, you should be able to click. If you have an iPhone, all you have to do is open your camera, hold it over that QR code, and it will take you to the video. If you're Android, I'm going to be honest, I don't know how that works. Hopefully you have a separate QR code reader, or you can just go to flipgrid.com and type in the code 5181C9BD. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to give it a try, because I really want you to see what it looks like when the students are working on this from home, or they're trying to do this with parents. So if you would, let's take 5 minutes, and I promise to have you out of here early, and go ahead and jump on there. And this is the part where my phone will start blowing up as you guys add your videos, because I still have it on daily links. Also right now, thank you, Alexis. I'm sorry, I'm a habitual iPhone user. Alexis said Android should have the same feature. Let me see. Let me check on some other questions while we're waiting. The video, if you were looking on your phone, you should see my introduction, and you should be able to scroll down, and there will be a circle with a green plus sign where you can add your video. Let's see. Alicia. Yes, you can translate your text or your prompt into other languages. Okay, that's true. Okay, we did run into this a couple times last time. Sometimes it will ask you to download the app first. On mine, I can just scan it and the video goes straight through. But some people did have that issue last presentation where they had to grab the app first. Oh, somebody was fast. It just popped up on my phone. Let's see. If you have another question, feel free to type that in. We're going to go a couple more minutes on this, and then we're going to keep moving in our presentation. I wish you guys could see it on my end. All of you are all talking at the same time. Okay, does anyone else need the code? Okay, one more question. If you go with guest for now, Yolanda, I would go with guest. And then when we share the link for you to get started, then we can change it over to an actual teacher account. So for now, I would go with guest. All right, awesome. Hopefully everyone has that code. I'm going to jump back over to the presentation. I look forward to seeing your videos. And no, I will not share those live on this call, just so you know. That was the other question I got on my cell. Or am I going to share these? No. Okay, so let's jump back in. So Flipgrid with AR, this is one of my favorite features, and this is the feature I use a lot when I am absent and still want my kids to feel like I am there and connected to them. even though they know, obviously, I'm not there. If a substitute is there for whatever reason, they still respond as if I'm in the room when they're recording to these. So there's a short video about Flipgrid AR that I want to show you. And this is good for sharing student work, a gallery walk, perhaps, if you wanted to do a digital gallery walk, even if you're printing out the codes and sending those home, since, as we know, we won't be having a lot of movement outside of our groupings. We use these to create digital student portfolios. I use them a lot for homework explanations. I would add the QR code to their homework sheet. So as they were working through homework, if they didn't get it, they could quickly use the app, hit this video, and I will pop up on the worksheet with them to explain. And as well with some of my younger ones, I used it as a read aloud. And with another program outside of school, I've used it with parents who may be away or in the military to record those read aloud so they can have an opportunity to read books with their children even when they're absent. So here's a quick video on Flipgrid AR.
All right, so once you've printed off that Flipgrid AR code, you can go ahead and stick that code onto any student work or any student product displayed around the classroom or in the halls of the school, and invite parents, visitors, and guests to your school to open up the Flipgrid app on their mobile device and simply click the Scan Flipgrid QR to scan that code and watch a student voice come to life and jump off the page or right off that finished product.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite features, as I've said, to just add a little more engagement for things. Other things you could use it for, if you have new students, maybe they're getting to know you things or school procedures or rules you want to share. If you do have the app on the phone, again, there are different QR codes. To share a response, it will say Flipgrid AR, and that's how you know that you can use it with the augmented reality. If that banner is not at the top, it's just a regular QR code that's going to play on your phone. So if you have the app going, feel free to scan the code that's there. I recorded that a little earlier today just to play around with it. So you can open your Flipgrid app and go ahead and scan that code and it'll pop up. And I will have these in what is being sent out so you can play around with that once we're done. Flipgrid Disco Library. This is where other educators share their content, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are several things. There are lots of things related to different subjects, grade levels, as well as some things for professional development for adults. So once you make your account and you go to the Disco Library, there are thousands of videos that you can patch into and utilize with your students as needed. And also using the Disco Library is a way for you to become a Flipgrid certified educator, which I will mention towards the end. Resources. There's a getting started guide. There's one specifically for educators as you're setting up your grids and your topics. And there's also one for students that you can share with them as a one-pager to send home, or they can use the YouTube video getting started guide. You can share that with parents as well. They also have separate learning from home, remote learning with Flipgrid. And some of those features are set up almost as a course to walk you through and let you play around with it within a safe space before you start using it if you are doing an A-Day B-Day situation, or if we go out for full distance learning, you have that training and those options as well. These are just some fun Flipgrid educators. They are all Flipgrid guides, well, Flip guides. And have gone through all of the steps to receive their certification. All are on Twitter and have great content and ideas to share. And again, that'll be in the presentation as well that's sent out. The Flipgrid newsletter is how you learn about all of the new content and features. The latest content or feature that they've added are creative fonts. I'm going to be honest, I'm not quite sure how I feel about the fonts. Again, my students are younger and I can just see them getting caught up in adding different fonts and different phrases and adding their name and the cat's name and the brother's name. So again, this will have to be something you'll have to work through with them so they know when it's appropriate to use those fun fonts and when they just need to stick with the classic font for their presentation. They can be found on all of our digital platforms. You have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube. There's a lot of great information on the Twitter account and especially on the YouTube account. If you use hashtag Flipgrid for all, that's where other educators across the country and the world share how they're using Flipgrid in their classroom to kind of give you some ideas for things that you can do. Once you've gotten a little more comfortable, you can become a Flipgrid certified educator. And there are 3 different levels to this that can be completed anytime. And once you make it to level 3, you become a Flip Guide with more resources and things. You can host PD sessions and get Flipgrid swag, all sorts of great things with that. Okay, I told you I'd have you out of here early. So this is my contact information again. I'm Keziah at MetaView. Feel free to reach out to me at our Bossier Schools email or by Twitter. I have to be honest, I do not tweet a lot, but I do respond to private messages and like to share content that way. You can use the QR code if you would like to provide me with some feedback or just, you know, questions, comments, anything you think would be helpful. Feel free to scan that QR code, or you can scan it once you have this slide deck later. If you are ready to get started on your Flipgrid journey, you can go ahead and use the bit.ly link, Flipgrid KP, and that will work you through my community, Flipgrid community, so you can go ahead and set up your Flipgrid account. So I'm going to jump back over. I'm going to leave that up for a bit, and I'm going to jump over and see if we have any questions. Let's see. Ah, thank you, Ms. Hart. Here's, okay. Sorry, I'm just reading through your questions really quick. Okay, good question. It says, when you record your video, does it automatically send? No. You have given the options to edit, delete, add more time to it, whatever you need to do to that video. So no, it will not automatically just boom when the timer goes off, send it to the teacher, or if you're recording it, send it, post it for your students. So no, that will not happen. You are given several options to update that. And let's see. Chastity, could you tell me which code you need? Ah, we need the sign-in link. That's what it is. I actually don't have that link. I'm hoping Connie can toss that into the chat because I actually did. Thank you, Connie. But if you have any other questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. We'll probably stop recording here shortly, and I will hang out for another 15 minutes or so if anyone wants to jump on and start playing, and I can answer questions as you're going through. Clearly, I'm just happy to see adults and hopefully hear some adult voices. So if you want to stay on and try to work through and get yours going again, I'll stay on here for a while longer. We'll stop recording in a bit and you can just jump in with your questions. Again, thank you, everyone. Please use that QR code and give me some feedback or questions. Let me know if there are specific things that you need help with. There's something I didn't cover or a concern you may have. And again, thank you so much for being here. We'll stop recording and I will hang out. Oh, good question. Oh, hey, Ms. Paul. Okay, so with AR, and I wish I still had that video. I may be able to find it. Are we still recording, Connie? Well, they'll get this part for free. What I did was
I can stop the recording, or are you ready to stop?
Go ahead and stop.
Okay.